I go for a walk. Today I'm going to talk about how things hold energy. When I was 5, we started building our house out in the country. We went out there to check on the progress of the basement, and so far they had dug the hole and there were piles of dirt that were there. Well, as a little girl, of course, all I wanted to do was get up on the mounds of dirt and play around. And when I did, I saw at the base of one of the piles there was a bone. And I thought, well, this is cool. So I ran down the hill and grabbed the bone. And when I picked it up, I'm like, this is a person bone. I'm like, it can't be a person bone. So my mind started going through all the different kinds of bones. Like, is it a deer bone? No, it's too big to be a deer bone. It's not the right shape. Is it a horse bone? No, it's not a horse bone. It's not a cow bone either. I just kept coming back to its person bone. And I kept coming back to that it was a right leg bone. And I thought, well, okay, well, this is kind of cool. So I took it over to my stepdad and I said, hey, look what I found. And he said, well, can I see it? So I gave it to him. And he said, well, where did you find it? So I turned around to point to the dirt pile and tell him where it was. And when I turned back around, the bone was no longer in his hands. Well, that kind of irritated me. It was my find. It wasn't his. What did he do with it? And he said he threw it back in the hole. So I went over to the hole to see if I could get down in there. And he said it was too deep and that I couldn't go in there. And I said, where is it? Because I didn't see it in the part of the hole that I was looking. And so he told me where it is that he threw it, what part of the hole. Well, our house was later built, and the stairwell going down into the basement was right about over the place where he threw the bone in. And going down that stairwell, me, my sister, my mom's friend, just various different people, we didn't really like going down in there. And going back up was even worse. It felt like somebody was reaching their hand through the open stairwell at our ankles. And that's a pretty strange feeling. Now, I talked earlier about ghosts. And so these experiences kind of kept me curious about all this stuff. And as I got a little bit older, one of my friends, Stacy, she lived in town, right next to a cemetery. And when she was there, she had found a Ouija board that somebody else had left in the house, in the upstairs closet. So she would play around with it with some of her friends. I didn't know what a Ouija board was. But one time when I was over there for a slumber party, we got it out and I got to see what it was about. Now, I wasn't sure if somebody else's hands were moving that thing or not, but I was open to the possibilities. And so later, my sister, also wanting to find out about what was going on in the basement, she had a slumber party. Oh, I'm gonna switch hands here. Hold on, Piper. With a bunch of her friends in the basement, and they did this thing called light as a feather, stiff as a board, where one person would lay on the ground and the other people would put 2 fingers underneath the person's side, and apparently they could lift them up that way. So they wanted to try it, and they succeeded. They got her about 6 or 7 inches off the ground before she fell. And I thought, and I didn't participate in that one, but she told me about it. I thought, okay, well, that's pretty cool. I'm going to have a slumber party of my own, but I'm going to do it in the laundry room, closest to where the spirit was. She did it out in the main room because the spirit really bothered her. And so we all sat in a circle. There was my best friend Kirsten, Stacy, probably Marcy and Trisha, and Sharon. And I don't remember if there was somebody else there or not. Anyway, so we sat in a circle in the laundry room, and we decided to close our eyes and try and call this spirit into us. And Sharon was the one doing the talking. She sat on the opposite side of the circle from me. And as we were listening, suddenly she stopped talking. So I opened up my eyes, and I saw her face glowing as white as my jacket. And she was just staring straight between me and my best friend, who was sitting next to me. So I kind of moved my eyes over to the side a little bit to see what she was looking at. And I saw it. It was the head of an Indian man, a Native American, and there was a red cloth wrapped around his forehead. And I don't know if it was dyed red or if it was blood-soaked, but his hair was wet, like it was either really greasy or it had been raining. And he had black long hair. His face was tanned and wrinkled, and he just sat there in the circle with us. And I kind of got the feeling like he had sat in circles before. He was quite stoic, and he just seemed like that was a place that he belonged. And I wasn't afraid of him, but it got me thinking, I wonder if his reaching through the stairs at us was, grabbing my ankles, was to get my attention, to get me to stay and come and visit and invite him. And I think that leg bone probably belonged to him, because I've since learned things hold energy, and we can relate that to individuals in our lives also. If people have been, treated us badly with their hands, that's what we remember of them. Those are the memories that we have. And when people treat us good with their hands, that's what we remember of them as well. And I think that's also why my friend is always very, very careful to make sure that he only leaves a good impression on me. And with that in mind, you can see how thoughts also hold energy. Because even though he's being quiet and working on himself or whatever it is that he's doing, my thoughts about him, they're still there. My feelings, my emotions, my heart is still there. I've always said also, when it comes to relationships, that I don't need a piece of paper. And I meant that in the respect that I didn't need a piece of paper to keep me faithful. And, being forced to get married when I did, forced that paper upon me. And, of course, my ex was not faithful, obviously. But I've also found that I didn't need paper in the respect that I didn't need a degree in order to succeed in my career. Now, for somebody without a degree to work their way up the corporate ladder through finance, a little bit of accounting, as a business analyst, as a controller, you know, I will say those that had degrees were not very happy with the fact that I was in such a position without a degree. They felt slighted, to say the least. But I also ran circles around them. So, you know, there's a lot to be said for experience and placing your intention in the right place instead of chasing a dollar, actually helping the business grow. So, good morning. She wants to play.
You say hi.
She does like to wrestle, but she's a nice girl.
No, it's okay. They're rough too. They like we were just talking like, man, we better off walking them instead of them doing WWE in the backyard.
She'll put her arm over their shoulder to show her dominance, and then she puts her shoulder out, and it makes me laugh because she's like, 8.5. Like, yeah, old lady, you're putting your shoulder out.
Leave the old man at home.
Bye. But they were nice. And Piper was very good. She was a good girl. She met some friends today. Good girl. But things hold energy. And when I think about different videos that I've watched of, friends that I know and other people that I have followed on YouTube that do things like metal detecting, and they find old things in the ground. They get a story in their mind that comes to them, and so they share that. And it very well could be, that's what it is. That's who it belonged to. And then they do further research and they find a lot of interesting facts that lead them to their hunch. So it's not, and you'll see the same thing in your own life with your own stories, whether it's things you've touched, or here's another one. In December 2 years ago, 2020, I got rid of a whole bunch of stuff in my house that I had been carrying around for decades from my wedding, the one that I was forced into. So, and I held on to them because they were nice things. They weren't really my style, but I never really used them. Things like lead crystal and whatnot, and I liked the sturdiness of them. I did like the design, but I didn't really see any practicality in them. And as soon as I got rid of them, literally gave them away, had a lady come in and pick up a whole carload full of stuff like that, I felt such a huge relief, a huge weight that lifted off from my shoulders. And I felt like free of bleh. I was like, wow. And the whole reason I did that was because my friend was also going through some stuff in his house and getting rid of things. And he said, get rid of anything that does not serve our current life. And I thought, that's a really good perspective. Because, obviously, the crystal, even though it was really nice, it did not serve my current life. It was something from way beyond, way in my past. And it's just something that I didn't really want. So, good morning, bud. This is much nicer. So that's one way of getting rid of stuff. When we get rid of stuff, think of whatever does not serve our current life. Because things hold energy. They hold memories. Thoughts hold memories. And releasing those things and releasing those thoughts, like I'm doing here with these videos about my story, it releases them and allows good to flow in. It makes room for new thoughts and new memories. And when I think about the last few years, with my friend, going back and forth with him. I like all the memories, even the ones that might not seem so great. They really do have a place. And we made it to the lake. You done? Is that it? And now we're headed back home. I have a lot of things to do today. I don't know how I would do all this stuff if I were still working. Oh, you know, this is probably one of the people that I want to talk to. I'm going to talk to him for a while. The beach owner thing. Yep, that was Rob. He's the one who's building down here. President of the Beach Association. The one I talked to last fall about having a spiritual retreat down here. So he said he's seen me walking the dog a few times. Good morning.
Doggy.
Yeah, this is Piper.
You want a pet?
She's a sweet girl.
Hi. Oh, you look like you want some pets. Oh, yes. I want some attention. Good girl.
Yes, she is. But it was nice to put a face with the name and the nice conversation that we had. And, you know, one of the first things that I noticed about my friend, besides his patience and listening to me ramble on, was that he really gives off an energy of calm confidence, and it just really draws me into him, because, you know, I've looked for that for a long time. I've had a lot of different things going on in my life that, and I know this energy as being the same thing that was instilled in me as a child from my alien friend and his parents. So I feel like it was, you know, they instilled or installed this into me when I was younger to help me navigate as I dodged and weaved my way through life to find my person. And now I just have to be patient and see what life brings to me. I have a lot more of my story to get out. Make room for all the good coming my way. So that's what I'm going to focus on. Not what he's doing. Because him and I both know when we touch, I connect with him, and then I start to see things with him because I mention them to him. Whether it's something as simple as, you know, I think I'm going to have a baked potato. And he'll say, I just had a baked potato. Or, hey, look at this great new coffee I just got. He said, I just got some of that new coffee. New to him, not new coffee. But just the synchronicities are more than a coincidence, you know. They say there's no coincidences. I can't explain the connection that I have, but I have noticed that the level of connection that I have with the person closest to me in my life takes it to a whole nother level. And I really want to explore that more. I really want to see where that leads. You know, that to me, that's the exciting part. That's the exciting part of my visions and these, what do they call them? Lucid dreams. I go into that in my book also. We'll save that for another day.